Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. So it's been a while since I've spoken about hidden disabilities or anything related to Jay or Immy. So I thought it would be a good opportunity now to talk about the EHCP process, only because I've just had Jaidyn's review and I'm sorting out all his documentation. So this is Jaidyn's folders with all like his paperwork in, and I'm just on the laptop looking over some documents that school have sent, and I've got some paperwork to file. So yeah, I thought it was a good opportunity to talk about the process we went through to get his EHCP. There will probably be two parts to this video because Jaidyn has a care plan and Immy has a care plan, but the whole experience for each of them was different. So this part will be about how I secured Jaidyn's, and then part two will be about how I secured Immy's. So Jay is currently in year 8 at school, and initially when Jaidyn was diagnosed with ASD and ADHD, he had an IEP plan at school, which stands for Individual Education Plan, and it just outlined any additional support he needed at school. I wasn't aware of what an EHCP was. It was all brand new territory for me, and once he had his diagnosis, I had to go out and research certain things for myself, what help he could get, what he was entitled to. So I didn't know about an EHCP. It was only, like I said before, when I went out and done my own research. So for those of you who don't know, an EHCP is an education, health and care plan, and it outlines any special educational needs, any diagnoses that your child has, and it stays with them until they turn 25. It's a legal binding document, and there's so many different sections. It talks about the child, their family structure, the school provision they're in, any help they may be getting at the moment, anything else that may help. It talks about health, it talks about targets, it covers a lot. I know that I have I am with a lot of parent groups who have children with additional needs, and a lot of those parents are from different boroughs, and I hear different stories that the care plan actually differs from borough to borough. So I'm talking specifically about my experiences of getting an EHCP within my borough. The journey wasn't an easy one. Jaidyn, I initially applied for an EHCP when he was in year 2. So he was 6, going on 7 at the end of the year. This seems like such a long time ago now. It was declined. I think, I'm trying to remember if it was done by school. It was, because I put in my concerns. School said they would apply, and it was declined. And at that time I didn't know that if a plan was declined, you could appeal, and there was other things you could do to see if the local authority would issue one. So I left it. I applied again when Jaidyn was in year 3, because even though he had the IEP in place, he was still struggling and he was still behind and having some difficulties in school. He was in mainstream classes. Again, I applied in year 3 and it was declined. So when it was declined the second time, I thought, no, this isn't right. I started doing my own research. I got in contact with organisations within my borough to see if they could help. And there was an organisation that did help. The lady I was in contact with, she spoke me through the whole process. She sent me documentations of actually how the local authority issue EHCPs, what potentially needs to be within the application when applying, the type of language you need to use, the proof, any evidence to back up what you're saying is not working or is not right for the child. Cut a long story short, once I'd done my research, I then wrote out this application to apply for the plan. This lady looked over it for me, which I was so grateful for, and she said, you know what, you've done everything you need, it's absolutely brilliant, just reference certain parts, link it to any reports that you have on Jaidyn, so that they can see where, you know, this has been attempted but it's not working, or this has been attempted but it's not working. Please look at, you know, this report to see this. And I applied, third time round, this is now, I applied in, I think it was January 2020, just before lockdown. I got a decision saying that the local authority have decided to assess. Then we went into lockdown, so any professional that was meant to go into school to see Jaidyn, to see his teachers, to do any observations, they couldn't do it. So everything had to be done remotely. So meetings with like his teacher, the educational psychologist, that was all done via Zoom. Other bits was done via email with the Senko, and the Senko who was at his school then, the first 2 times that I applied was a different Senko who she wasn't very good. Even though she worked alongside my child, she didn't really know his needs. This Senko, who was now dealing with the case, she was brand new and she was brilliant. You would have thought she had worked with my son for so long. Her report, what she put in the care plan was so thorough. I was just blown away. So I was happy. So, yeah, everything was done remotely via Zoom, and everything was submitted. Everything was looked over via email. And then I think it was in July 2020, that was when it was locked down, yes. Because Jaidyn was in year 5, going into year 6 in September. Third time around, doing a parental request. I'd done the parental request. School didn't put in the request or the application. It was me that did it myself with the help of this lady from the organisation looking over what I'd done. We were finally granted his care plan, and it was like a huge weight had been lifted off my shoulder, because we initially attempted when he was 6 in year 2 to get a plan, then again in year 3, and then finally in year 5 it happened. And I was so grateful, because I knew that I was worrying about secondary school and how he would cope going into mainstream with like big buildings, bigger classes, different teachers. I knew my child and I just thought, he's not going to manage. It will not be good for him. I need this plan before he goes to secondary school, so that I can get him into a school environment that can meet his needs. He knows everyone, the teachers know him, the class sizes are small. And in order to get him into a provision that was best for him and to meet his needs, he needed this care plan. So yes, I was thrilled that we finally got it, and he was happy as well. So that plan stays with him until he's 25. He's now, Jaidyn is now, he's nearly 13. and we got it granted when he was 11. He'd done his last primary school year 6 placement in mainstream, but I moved him from his other primary school because I wasn't happy with how they were. I just weren't happy with, Jaidyn wasn't happy there, and they wasn't doing what they said they were meant to be doing, so we moved him. And it's crazy how once these things are in place, the support, not for everybody, again, this is just my experience, the support just was brilliant. Although it was a struggle to get where we did with the care plan, and I didn't really have any support at first, and I had to go back and do research onto how to get this document that would help my son in life. Once he had it and I moved him to this school, he thrived, he was happy, he was given the support he required. He had a one-on-one to help him and another child in his class. And you could just see the difference. Like, we speak a lot about how his school days go, and he was much happier. He was hitting his targets. He thrived. The gap closed. Whereas in his first primary school, the gap didn't close at all. So I was happy with the decision that was made. And, you know, things worked out. I persevered. It seems like everything's a fight with your child when you're trying to get what you know they need. But it worked out. He's happy. And yeah, now he's in a provision that supports his needs. He absolutely loves school. It breaks my heart when he talks about like his first few years of his first primary school, that he just didn't like it, and they didn't support him the way they should. But then when he talks about how he was in year 6 and how school was a good place now and he was happy, it filled me with joy. But just looking back now on his EHCP, we've just had his review. So he has, or any child who has a care plan will have a review each year, and it will go over the child's targets. If they've met the targets, then you set new targets, which we done. You talk about any other support the child was getting. So we talked about support at Jaidyn's, any changes you need to let school know. They always get the child's views, so Jaidyn's views were taken into account here. And it talks about his current attainment, his levels that he's at. This is on any care plan. Then you have to do long-term and short-term outcomes. It also talks about health, so if there's any changes to their health, or anything serious the school or LA need to know about. It talks about travel assistance. If a child gets a TAB, which is a travel assistance budget, if they get bus, if they get taxi, or if the parent brings them or carer brings them to school. And then that's it for the review. The review doesn't really take that long, because they send documents for you to do beforehand, and they do any paperwork they need to do with the child. And I had all of Jaidyn's reports, and next year it will change because he'll be going into year 9, so I think they'll focus on his preparation to adulthood, because yeah, he'll be going on 14 next year. So again, an EHCP is an education health care plan that stays with your child until they're 25. and it highlights any special educational needs, additional needs that a child may have, and it's a legal binding document that the school, the local authority have to adhere to. And yeah, it really just helps to get your child into a provision that is right for them and that meets their needs, and it's an absolute lifesaver. So just to summarize, although I didn't know about EHCPs before we started on this journey, before any of Jaidyn's diagnoses, I had to learn so much along the way and what was available for him, and it's helped so much, because without this document, I think school life would be an absolute struggle. But he's in a provision and a setting that is beneficial for him. He's thriving, he loves it, he does activities, he's got a good set of friends. His teachers are amazing. At his school, you know, there are specialist people who work with children, such as peer mentors, counsellors, educational psychologists, speech and language therapists, occupational therapists. And I'm not saying this is not available within mainstream schools. It all depends on the setting and what the school offers and what it says in your EHCP. But this is what we get from the school setting we attend. And yeah, this was followed. The professionals have to follow what it says in the EHCP, make sure the child's meeting their targets, so on and so forth. So that is about my experience of getting an EHCP for Jaidyn. The next video about EHCPs will be how we got Imogen's care plan, because the experience was totally different from Jaidyn's. If you've tuned in till the end, thank you. I hope you have learnt something. Again, I just like to say that's my experience. I know everyone will have different experiences. Some people's will be positive, some people's will be negative, some will be neutral. Everyone's journey is different, but this is our journey. And this is what it's looked like for us. But if you like our content, please like and subscribe to our channel. Turn your notifications on. I do a lot of different videos, some raising awareness and talking about the children's hidden disabilities and additional needs, and other videos highlighting family life, activities we get up to, and everything that we do, hence why we are called Our Life Our Way, because that is how we do things. But hopefully we'll see you in the next video. Thank you for tuning in.